I already started it, so it's going live.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Club Fantasci. I am your host, David Lowry, and today we are talking with TheoryCraft Gaming and the owner, Ben Wolf, and we are going to be talking about factions, which will be going live on Kickstarter on the 11th. So you definitely want to stay tuned and make sure that you check out what he's got to say about this so you can check it out right away and get on it and back it as soon as possible. Welcome to the program, Ben.
Thanks for having me, David. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. So tell us a little bit real quick. Give us a 2-minute synopsis on what Factions is.
All right, wonderful. Well, Factions is a futuristic sci-fi strategy game. It can be played from 2 to 4 players. Games are pretty quick, fast-paced. One of the things that makes Factions very unique is the customization that is involved with Factions. So we're very big on the fact that you can change the layout of the board prior to starting a game. There's also a lot of customization with the different factions that we've provided for you. So that definitely lends well to the way the game will play each time you play it. So, for example, putting different tiles down in a certain way on the board will adjust the style game you're going to play, which we can get into a little bit later if you'd like, as far as the details of and mechanics of the game.
Now, one of the things now, I've noticed that this game you've been posting about this in some of the groups and whatever, and so for weeks now I've been seeing the artwork. The artwork is phenomenal for the game. How did you come up with the concept of the artwork, and who is the artist?
Well, we actually have multiple artists that we've been working with, and I have a background in graphic design, so I've always been very in tune with a lot of the artwork, and that's one of my favorite parts of working on this project. But we have artists from all over the place. We have an artist from India, we have an artist from Malaysia, we have an artist in Brazil, and we also have an artist from the States. So we've had multiple artists working with us, and they've all been really fun to work with and getting a lot of the cool illustrations put together.
Yeah, the artwork is phenomenal, and that's the standard anymore. If you don't have phenomenal artwork, it's hard to be successful. So kudos on that. We're looking at a game that's 2 to 4 players, ages 13 and up, and 45 to 60 minutes. Interestingly enough, it's 1-on-1, 2 versus 2, or a free-for-all style format.
Correct.
How did you come up with that concept? What made you decide to go free-for-all with it as well?
Well, to be honest with you, it wasn't part of the game for a while in the beginning. We started out with just a 1v1 game that we did a lot of balancing and play testing for, and then we eventually incorporated the 2v2, which we felt was a lot of fun, but it's a different style, completely different style of gameplay. And then the 1v1v1 was added because of the layout of the board. As you can see, if you look at our images, it's a hexagon, and it gave us the opportunity to have 3 different spots where the players could all come from different sides, and basically the object of the game is to obtain victory points. So there's a lot of take and hold style gameplay, and you're wrestling over those points. And with a free-for-all with 3 different players, it really turns into kind of standoffish, wait till you get the right moment and seize your opportunity type game. So it was just another way to add a cool element to the game.
Now, one of the other interesting things I found about this game is you can customize your faction, which a lot of games, things are kind of standardized. This is your team, or this is your characters, or whatever. Here you're making it so you can customize your team. My question to that would be, is how different are the character cards from each other so that you actually get a feel of that?
It's a great question. Well, there are a ton of different characters in each of the factions, and each faction plays somewhat differently. They have different styles to them. But that being said, when you choose the specific faction that you're going to play with, when you're customizing it and choosing the characters that you want to use, you're going to be using them in relation to what your opponent's going to be choosing as their faction as well. So, for example, the Beast Army is full of characters that have a lot of hit points. They're kind of that up close grinded out melee style army. And
Right.
if you're playing with the remnants army, then you're more of a defensive range type army, and you will choose units that maybe suit you well against that beast army. But there's lots of different ways of choosing your army, which makes it that much. That's one of the things we're really prideful about with the game that we put together.
Yeah, that's kind of a fabulous option, really. The other thing I really liked is you gave the dollar back or something. So even if you only pledge $1, you're still getting something for that dollar that this person is pledging. I thought that was pretty cool and unique as well.
Yeah, yeah. We wanted to, look. Some people are just interested in seeing how things go, and maybe one of the things, like you mentioned before, you're really a fan of our artwork. Well, we want to provide you with something, and instead of just what's it to us to give you some PDFs and some artwork of the game, and some desktop wallpapers, etc. So yeah, we're happy to do that.
For those watching, at the dollar level, you get the PDF digital artwork, and at a $10 level, you get a print and play and digital art package. That's pretty cool. We don't see a whole lot. At least I don't see a whole lot of that. So that's pretty impressive. That's definitely a little different for the Kickstarter. Now, being as this is your first game, tell me, what has been the hardest thing for you to learn about running a Kickstarter?
Oh, well, patience, I think. I kind of got into this thing, and I kind of wanted to hit the ground running. I started the idea for this thing and learned about Kickstarter and did a lot of research. I mean, I spent nights, hours and hours of nights just looking up different projects and seeing what was out there. And I really was like, my first impression was, oh, I could probably finish this up and I'll have this out in a few months, no big deal. And next thing I realized, I was like, what am I talking about? This takes way more dedication and patience than I had originally thought. But I'm so glad that I got into that, because I've learned so much from it. It's been an incredible experience.
I think once the date actually arrives, the 11th, and it really launches, you're going to find an even more overwhelming aspect of it, because now you're running 24/7, and it's just so much work. But so far, everything looks really, really good on this project.
Thank you.
Now, one of the things, I can't tell, so forgive me if I don't understand this. The board, is it a static board, or is it a board that changes every time you play it?
Well, the board itself is static. The board itself is static. The outer ring there is the deployment zone, and then there's an inner ring right in front of that, which is our entry zone for all the players playing at each one of those sections. And then the rest of the board is just all the hexagon tiles. But what we have are there's credit point tiles and victory point tiles, which can be interchanged however you want on the board. And that's what changes the layout of the board and allows for a custom design experience for every time you play. So, I mean, granted, you could play the same layout as many times as you want with the same armies. You're going to have a similar battle probably, but if you change it up, you can change it up 100 different ways, which is what makes it customizable. So we have ideas and plans to add different types of tiles that are added to the board as well, and we're hoping that with a successful campaign, we can provide those in our expansion set. So there's a lot of cool things that would come from that if we can get through the first stage of this.
So now we're looking at 4 different factions in the group, but really it's only 1v1v1 max players.
Well, you can have 2v2, so you could actually have.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you could have the Wretched and the Last Remnants versus the Beast and the Machines.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was my other question as I'm looking through here real quick.
If you don't mind my just adding something to that, something that I want people to be aware of is that the base game comes with all 4 of those armies, but you'll only have one of each army. If you wanted to, and we have another pledge that would allow for you to get 2 of each army. Comes with 8 total armies.
Yeah, the super box set, the $80.
Exactly.
Pledge. Yeah.
Exactly, and that would allow for, let's say you both love undead and you want two armies of the Wretched, that would provide you with that. Plus the stretch goals, whatever we reach when we get there, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, like I said, looking at this, and I've been really kind of anticipating this for, I don't know, probably a couple months now. You and I have been talking back and forth off and on over a couple months, just based on the artwork alone, for this game. So I'm really excited about this one to come out. Now here you've got it, and I don't see it because I don't want to mess up my video feed here, but you've got it, so you're actually telling these people the best way to play the factions.
Well, on their Kickstarter page, we talk about the different styles that they bring.
Right.
But we definitely didn't want to tell anybody how they think that they should play with them. That being said, we do have a forum page on our website, which we're hoping will populate a little bit more and allow for people to talk strategies and different things that can happen and what they found was useful or what characters were good in certain situations, that kind of thing. But in the videos that we have up, most of it is talking about the mechanics and describing how each attribute works on a card and that sort of thing.
Now, one of the other things I really liked about the Kickstarter page is your use of the primary video, the video that everybody checks out when they first get to the page, because it's very well done and it's better done than most other Kickstarter videos I've ever seen. And as somebody who does this for a living and has done numerous amounts of music videos over the years, this is getting to that point where the professionalism really needs to reach at some point for this industry. And with the influx of new Kickstarters all the time, this is going to be more in demand and more in demand and more in demand. What made you decide to put such a strong push into that video when so many others haven't?
To be honest with you, I think, I'm a visual guy, and I think I'm not the most well-written person in the world, and I'm not the most eloquent person either. but when I try to describe something, I think I'm best at describing or explaining anything through visuals. And
right.
when I put this whole thing together, I knew that every Kickstarter page that I ever went to, if I saw the first little blurb there, if that caught my attention, I'd watch the video, and if that video was of any interest to me, I would thoroughly search the entire Kickstarter page. Right. And I knew that that's the best way to really kind of pull people's attention in and see if they're interested. So we really kind of looked into that. I did a lot of research to try and find the right person for it. Fortunately, I did. He had a blast doing it because we had such nice artwork already to use and work with. So that was my main reason for it, is really being able to explain in visuals what we were trying to do and what our game's about.
I mean, I agree with you. As this Kickstarter thing gets bigger and bigger, those videos are going to come more and more into play, and the professionalism really has to be there. I know a lot of people say that it really isn't important, but it is. Your packaging is everything from the get-go. You can't put out a crappy video or a crappy Kickstarter page and expect people to really back this thing. The better your Kickstarter page from top to bottom, the more success you're going to have, period.
Sure.
So that was real smart on your guys' part to do that. Now, how far along are you with the artwork and everything where the game's at right now?
Well, we have all the artwork for two of the armies, for the Last Remnants army and the Wretched army. And I've been in touch with my artists from, day one, obviously, with working with them. And they're all pretty much on board to continue working on some of the other artwork for these other two armies that we have, and then whatever art we need for future armies that are going to be released. So there are two armies that still need artwork for it, which is part of the reason we're looking for some of the funding. We wanted to make sure that we didn't want to put all of our eggs in one basket with this thing. And this being my first Kickstarter campaign, I really wanted to make sure that I had touched base with everything and not just focused on just the artwork. So that's part of the reason we're looking for some of the funding.
Yeah, I mean, that makes complete. You have more than enough artwork to get this puppy started, and it all looks amazing. So,
and that's why we focused on the quality. I could have. I mean, I'm an artist myself. I do graphic design, and most of the graphic design is done by myself. But if I was to do the illustration, I wouldn't be happy with what was there, and I really wanted to have something that, when you're playing with the cards rather than miniatures, it needs to be visually really stunning, and that's what we work for.
Absolutely. All right, so people who back this project, obviously, they're going to get a much better rate if they back it on Kickstarter than if they try to buy it at their favorite local game store, right? So what are we looking at here about how much difference is there going to be between if they bought it on here versus if they bought it at their FLGS?
Well, I mean, really, you're probably going to save about $15 for the base set. In retail, it should be about $60. I guess not including tax. But the super box set, I mean, is where you're really kind of making out, because you're getting 4 extra armies, and each of the armies are going to cost separately, sold separately. They'll probably cost around $10 to $15. So if you're getting 4 extra armies, then I mean, you're really saving. That's a lot of money right there.
That's $80 basically for 2 games, almost. I mean, you're not getting the board and everything again. But
exactly.
If each box is $10 or $15 each, and you're absolutely right. Now, with these decks, are they customizable decks? Are we looking at something like a Mage Wars or an LCG of some kind where you can, is there like a significant hand limit, like you can't have more than 45 cards? What's the deal with that?
That's a good question. You start out with there's currently in each faction there's 54 cards, and you can use each character as many times as for however many you have. So if you wanted to, you could bind 2 of the Wretched Army and use all the same Wretched Army characters that you want. You could use all skeletons if you had the skeletons to use them. But the game, part of the mechanics of the game, is you're only allowed to have 7 characters on the board at any point, with the exception of a couple of abilities that maybe allow you to exceed that. Right. So, I mean, there's really no need for having too many more than that.
So you've got the Last Remnants, you've got the Wretched, which is looks more. I don't know how to put it, but they maybe more brutal, not so humane. You've got the beasts, you've got the machines. Correct. So 2 humanoid type factions, and then an animalistic faction and a mechanical faction.
Yes. Well, let me so we don't have a lot out there on the actual story of factions and how, we really kind of built the game from the ground up, starting with something that had a background to it. And the reason we haven't released anything from that is because it's not completely done, and we want to make sure that we put out a final product when we do that. Okay. But we want to make sure that everything made sense. So there is a story behind it, and we have ideas. Some of the other factions that we'd like to include, which I'd like to hint at, but we're going to probably do a contest out there during our Kickstarter campaign that allows the people that have pledged to vote for a different type of faction.
Right.
So that's our hope. We'll see.
Well, like I said, it's I don't expect everybody's story to be up there. I mean, with the Kickstarter or whatever, but you can tell just by looking at the artwork that there is something here. And I think that because you have such a wide, like usually when I thought factions, to me that would have been 4 different races fighting each other. But here you've actually got a race of machines versus another race of humanoids, and you've got a race of beasts. So it kind of tickles that itch on a lot of different levels for people who dig, that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, that was our hope. That was definitely our hope.
Definitely cool. So we've got a let me go down the levels here. We've got a dollar level. We've got a $5. We've got a $45, $48, $75, $80, $170, and a $350. So
yes.
$350. This you get to customize a faction.
Yeah, we wanted to put something out there where people could help us with the creation of one of our expansion armies. Some of these pledges are actually with the prices there, we we've got everything all set up and we've done all the numbers and everything. But we might adjust a couple things in a couple different spots. But that being said, the customization one for obviously for $350, we might change the price on that. But we want to kind of have some grassroots, some people that are really into this, that really love it, and work with them to kind of help them. They can create some character types and give us ideas for weapon types, abilities, some of the names of the characters, things like that, if they were really, really into it, which I think, we've gotten a lot of really good feedback and have a lot of people that are very interested in the project, which is great. So hopefully some people will be interested in doing something like that with us, which would be really cool. We would love to do that.
Well, and for me, I take it like that's a very cheap way for somebody who's interested in game design to get their feet wet.
Exactly, and that's something that I've considered doing. A good friend of mine, Lauren Cunningham, they created a game, Transylvania, which I believe they had an interview with you on your podcast. Mm-hmm. And they held a bunch of different pledges for customizing cards and whatnot on their pledge, and those were, I think, were awesome for their campaign and allowed people to kind of get involved, which is what we want.
Yeah, fabulous people. Now, starter box set, folks, you're going to get a rule book, you're going to get 4 army starter decks, you're going to get the battle grid, 30 card stands, 30 and turn tokens, 20 hit point tokens, 3 20-sided dice, and 15 hex tiles. And yeah, I'm telling you, I'm looking at this, and you guys can't see it now, but fabulous looking artwork. It looks like a really, really cool game. And it launches on the 11th. What time are you thinking about putting that out? What time of the day?
I'm hoping to put it out first thing in the morning. I'm on the West Coast. I'm in Arizona, so I'm on Mountain Standard Time. But I'm sure I'll be up pretty bright and early. Right. Obviously, just making sure that everything's really good to go. We'll start it early in the morning, and hopefully the people on the East Coast will get a chance to look at it when they're first up too. So we'll probably post it really early.
All right. Why pledge? It says, we need you. The cost of the final artwork, manufacturing, and shipping the game is impossible without support. Obviously, that's why we kickstart these things, right? You get the early discount, exclusive cards. Talk about the exclusive cards.
So for our stretch goals, we were hoping, with the obviously this is a hope for success that this thing goes as we'd like it to. We want to add to this game. We want to add to each of the factions. We want to make sure that people don't get bored with just the 1 or 2. But these exclusive cards are only going to come in the Kickstarter version of the game. Right. So a later version of the game might not have what we end up getting in this Kickstarter package that this whole campaign. So they'll be provided for basically for the expansions down the road, or for the expansions of the game, and for the actual factions that we have that are currently up now. Those 4 that we currently have. So.
Let me ask you this, because this is the other thing. Portability sometimes with games is very important. There's a lot of people that take their games on the road because they're salespeople. Blah. Is this game portable? Is it a good travel game?
Well, the board is going to be a quad-fold board a quad-fold board. It will be, the board is kind of big currently. However, that being said, if you wanted to, everybody's going to get a print and play of the game after that $10 level. So you will have a PDF of the board, and you can, if you wanted to, go and print out the board, which would be, the printout for the PNP will probably be about 24 by 24, and you could just roll that guy up, and as long as you have your cards and the roll up and the stands, you're golden. The rest is really not that big and whatnot. So it really could fit into a Ziploc bag, as far as I know, as separate of the board that's on paper.
There's a lot of people buying those tubes now for their mats and stuff anyway. So.
Right. Exactly, and that would be the hope.
So that's good because you know a lot of people do travel. And see, but for me, everywhere I go, even during the day when I'm going downtown for meetings or whatever, if I'm going downtown, I always take board games with me in case I run into somebody that wants to learn about gaming. I can whip out a game right there and play. So sometimes having that portability is a big deal. That's pretty cool. All right,
For sure.
so July the 11th, Factions, an innovative tabletop board game, card game, will be released. Company is TheoryCraft Gaming. You can check them out at theorycraftgaming.com. Ben Wolf is the owner. Now you've got Twitter, which is TheoryCraft Gaming, right? Twitter.
TheoryCraft Game, yeah.
And then you've got a Facebook page.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you on Google Plus?
I'm on Google Plus as well. Yeah, those are the three.
Is there a company page or is it just you?
Currently it is the company page it's tcgaming.bwolf@gmail.
Okay. All right. So everybody can find you there, interact with you well there as well. Obviously, they can check it out on Board Game Geek. Just look up Factions.
And we'll have links. We'll have links on the Kickstarter page for our social media too.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Awesome. And folks, if nothing else, go check out the quick video. It's only a minute and a half, 2 minutes long. Get a good idea what the game is about. Check out the artwork and spread it around. You know how social media works. All these companies need your help, not just funding it, but spreading the word. So the greatest referral you can ever give is to spread the word about the company, the product, whatever the case that you can do. So make sure that you share it on Twitter. Make sure you share it on Facebook. I know a lot of gamers that they don't like social media, that scares them. They don't want all this spam. You're not spamming. So just share the link, get it out there, and help these guys achieve their dreams, which is what we all want to do in life. Ben, I thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming out and doing this so late. I'm looking forward to this. Super excited about this one. And, man, best of luck to you.
Thank you so much, David. I appreciate your time, man. I really do. I appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Folks, clubfantasci.com. Obviously, you can find us Club Fantasci at Twitter. Find us at facebook.com/clubfantasci. Support us as well if you wouldn't mind. Give us a like or a tweet or something. Just say, hey, we're here to spread the passion of board gaming to everybody and introduce it to the people that really haven't caught on to the latest rage. So thank you very much for tuning in. Support Factions on Kickstarter. Thank you.